The red phone in the Situation Room doesn't ring, it flashes, a silent warning in the dead of night. It's 3:17 a.m. in Washington, D.C. A crisis is unfolding. A U.S. allies tanker has been seized in a contested strait. Tensions spike, missiles go on alert, global markets shudder before dawn. The world waits, not just for the aggressor's next move but for America's. In a quiet room, advisors huddle over satellite feeds, debating options and consequences. The choices: do nothing and risk chaos, or respond with force and risk war. This is the burden of being the world's policeman, a role America never formally sought but has held for decades. The world, for all its complexities, still looks to Washington when crisis erupts. From the Strait of Hormuz to the Taiwan Strait, the expectation of an American response underpins global stability. Born from the ashes of World War II, solidified in the Cold War, this role now faces new challenges. The decisions made in these pre-dawn hours ripple worldwide, affecting gas prices, shipping lanes, and the fate of nations. This isn't abstract policy, it's a high-stakes reality. Being the world's policeman means making impossible choices with imperfect information. Every move will be criticized by some, applauded by others. As the sun rises, the world waits for America's next move. To understand America's global role, look back to 1945. The world lay in ruins. Only the U.S. emerged stronger, its economy booming and homeland untouched. This unique position gave America both opportunity and responsibility to shape a new world order. Leaders like Truman and Marshall believed American security depended on global stability. They built institutions, the UN, World Bank, IMF, and crucially, a network of military alliances. NATO was formed. An attack on one was an attack on all. Similar pacts in the Pacific created a ring of alliances backed by U.S. power. American troops and bases cemented these promises, projecting power and enabling rapid response. The Marshall Plan and the dominance of the U.S. dollar reinforced this system. America became guarantor and enforcer of the order it built. The world's policeman was born. The post-war order was tested by the Cold War, a global struggle between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. This wasn't a traditional war, but a battle for influence, spies, propaganda, proxy wars. America's policing role became synonymous with containing communism. The Korean War was the first test, Vietnam the most divisive. The domino theory drove intervention, shaping a generation and scarring the nation. Beyond wars, the U.S. countered Soviet moves worldwide, supporting anti-communist factions, patrolling seas, and engaging in a nuclear arms race. The Cuban Missile Crisis brought the world to the brink, highlighting the stakes of global policing. At home, the cost and morality of intervention sparked fierce debate, especially after Vietnam. Yet, the logic of containment endured. The Soviet threat justified America's global reach. The Cold War cemented habits and infrastructure of intervention, preparing the U.S. for its future role. Even after the Soviet Union vanished, the policing mindset remained. The fall of the Berlin Wall and the Soviet Union left the U.S. as the world's sole superpower. The Cold War's end erased the main justification for global policing, but the infrastructure and mindset persisted. The first test, Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. America led a coalition, liberated Kuwait, and showed it would enforce global rules. The 1990s brought new missions, humanitarian interventions in the Balkans. After initial hesitation, the U.S. led NATO airstrikes, ending ethnic cleansing and brokering peace. America now policed not just invasions but atrocities within states. These actions were controversial. Some lacked UN approval, but the message was clear: the U.S. was the indispensable nation. The 1990s redefined the policing role, not just containing rivals but upholding a rules-based order and preventing mass disasters. The beat expanded. The world looked to Washington when genocide threatened or aggression erupted. America's leadership was both expected and contested. The unipolar moment set new precedents for intervention. The world's policeman had a broader mandate. America's policing role is backed by unmatched military might. The U.S. defense budget dwarfs all others, funding the world's most advanced weaponry and a massive force. The U.S. Navy, with its aircraft carriers, projects power globally. No other nation has such reach. Carrier strike groups can respond to crises anywhere within days, patrolling vital sea lanes and ensuring commerce. Hundreds of U.S. bases in over 80 countries enable rapid response and intelligence gathering. This forward presence is the hard infrastructure of global policing. America's alliance network, NATO, Japan, South Korea, Australia, amplifies its power. These alliances provide basing, intelligence, and coalition partners. The combination of budget, technology, global presence, and alliances makes the U.S. uniquely capable of sustained global operations. No other nation can match this scale or reach. Why does America shoulder the burdens of global policing? The answer is a mix of interests and ideals. Economic interests come first. The U.S. and global economies depend on stable trade, finance, and energy. The U.S. Navy keeps sea lanes open, protecting trillions in commerce. Security guarantees to allies are strategic bargains, troops and intelligence in exchange for influence and stability. Letting alliances crumble would weaken U.S. power and invite chaos. Containing rivals is another driver. Today, China and Russia are the main concerns. U.S. presence in Europe deters Russia. In Asia, it counters China's rise. The goal: prevent any rival from dominating key regions. American ideals also matter, promoting democracy, human rights, and a rules-based order. Critics call this a cover for self-interest, but the ideals inspire policymakers and the public. The impulse to intervene against genocide or support democracy is real. The tension between ideals and interests shapes U.S. foreign policy. It's a central drama of America's global role. Policing the world comes at a steep price: financial, human, and reputational. The defense budget is massive, diverting resources from domestic needs. Wars in Afghanistan and Iraq cost trillions, sparking debate over priorities at home. The human toll is immense. Thousands of U.S. lives lost, many more wounded, and families strained by endless deployments. 2 decades of war have exhausted the military and public. A broad U.S. intervention breeds resentment, seen as imperial overreach, fueling anti-American sentiment and extremism. Civilian casualties, support for dictators, and perceived hypocrisy damage America's image. At home, consensus has fractured. Isolationist voices on both sides call for retrenchment. Critics argue interventions often create more problems than they solve. The legitimacy of the policing role is under fire, making it harder for presidents to rally support. The cost is not just in dollars, but in trust and unity. The debate over America's global role is more divisive than ever. The world's relationship with American power is deeply contradictory. Many nations criticize U.S. foreign policy yet quietly depend on the stability America provides. European allies decry U.S. unilateralism, but underinvest in their own defense, relying on NATO. The global economy depends on U.S. naval patrols to keep trade flowing. Even rivals like China benefit from secure sea lanes policed by the U.S. Navy. In regions like the Middle East and Southeast Asia, U.S. presence is both resented and quietly welcomed as a counterbalance. Policymakers face a paradox. The world wants a policeman, but only on its own terms. Criticism is loud, but requests for help are constant. Despite talk of pulling back, the world structure still depends on American power. The unipolar moment is over. The world is now multipolar. China's rise as a peer competitor forces America to reassess its role. The U.S. can't assume dominance everywhere, especially in Asia. Possible futures: retrenchment, pulling back and forcing allies to do more, or shifting focus to the Indo-Pacific to counter China. A full retreat risks power vacuums and chaos that could draw America back in. More likely, the U.S. will concentrate on key regions, especially Asia, while reducing its footprint elsewhere. We're already seeing a pivot: more naval power, stronger alliances in the Indo-Pacific. The era of unilateral intervention is fading. Coalition building is the new norm. America will remain the world's most powerful nation, but with more constraints and competition. The global system still depends on U.S. power for stability. The question is no longer if America is the world's policeman, but what kind it will be. Will it protect the global order, or focus on its own interests against rising challengers? The answer will shape the century ahead.